Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin on the Minnesota border. We got Tim in Green Bay here to talk free agency as the Packers have a couple of new additions and a wild first day of free agency, man. This was a lot of fun to listen to. I was on the go all day and had it on NFL Network listening to Good Morning Football and then bleeding into the rest of the afternoon. Everything breaking. I want to say, though, when I switched over to the Pat McAfee show at noon, man, they done a hell of a job. It was absolutely awesome. Every time somebody got the bag, they were breaking it. It was really, really cool how they went around about free agency today. And, of course, X went down for a little bit, so that freaked everybody out, and everybody was scrambling for information. I do think it's hilarious. Everybody hates Elon until you need X, right? Now all of a sudden it's playing X up. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Boys, we got a couple of new Packers to talk about.
Yes.
Before we dive into all the details, and I think I've got quite a bit of information keyed up on these cats. Obviously, was no one on our radar as we were looking at the very, very top of the free agent list. These are those guys kind of, I feel like in the mid tier. However, seems like a lot of people are pretty high on them. So overall, before we dive into the two newest Packers, how did you guys feel about free agency? And I don't care who started. Matter of fact, let's start with you, Tim. How did you feel about free agency today, man, with everything? It seemed like it was one after another when things started popping loose.
Yeah, it was kind of rapid fire. We talked offline a little bit about we had a feeling that once it got going, it might be pretty rapid. And we kind of saw that happen today. And then obviously, X going down didn't help anybody getting information in or out, I guess, today. But, I think it went about as to be expected, right? There were some fireworks and then a couple of, a few surprises, I think, and then a few things that I don't think anyone was surprised by either. So all in all, another day of free negotiation, right? That's
Absolutely.
what we saw,
How about you, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough while I'm working to actually keep up with everything, but I had one headphone in and I was refreshing the Twitter. Was not working for me pretty much the whole day. A lot of kind of bigger names than I thought moved quickly, and then a lot of I'd say middle tier people getting contracts that I thought were quite large compared to what I would either project them getting, and we can get into our guys as well. I'm hesitantly positive, but there's definitely some parts about it that I don't enjoy. But I will say, and I hate to say this, but I liked what the Bears did today. They signed everybody and their brother. They solidified that offensive line almost in the last 2 days, seemingly overnight. So we'll get into it.
Winning the offseason again, but not the regular season, though.
Yeah.
Right?
I will say this about the Bears. I'm glad you brought it up, Jacob. In the past, I've always rolled my eyes. This year, we always joke about, like Tim said, they win the offseason every year. I've never felt like, boy, they really turned the corner this year. This year, it's like, okay, they're building in the trenches. They finally had their ass whipped enough that they realized, all right, we got to start adding some big boys in the middle, both on offense and defense. I agree with you, Jacob. I thought they did pretty good today, man. King Tron with the super chat. Sorry for bogging up the chat with the PFF stuff. Go Pack, go. Hey, Tron, you're never bogging down a chat, man. More information is better than less. We appreciate you taking the time to throw all that in there for sure. And thank you for the super chat. I do want to give a shout out to our boy. Gosh, I've already forgot the name here. It's kind of a unique name. If I'm saying it right, Jazambi. I had someone email me named Jazambi about, gosh, it was late February, I think it was. And said, hey, man, I got some cards. I collect cards. I do, autograph cards, stuff like that. Wanted to send you some stuff to give away on the show. And, man, first of all, the letter he wrote to the show, absolutely awesome. I'm going to take a picture and send it to you guys. Just really, really cool. But the stuff he sent, we've got to give away on the show. We've got an autographed Mason Crosby jersey patch card. Really, really sweet piece of memorabilia.
Oh, nice.
We've got an autographed Sean Ryan card, rookie card, him in his UCLA uniform. We got an autographed rookie Bo Melton card. We've got an autographed Javon Bullard rookie card.
Let's go.
Nice.
And a Katano Ladapo might be my favorite, and that thing is clean right there.
Ooh, that is nice.
Nice.
And then this one, I don't know, man. This is one of one. He created it himself, is what he said in the letter. Check this J-Love out here, right? So he's got the card, and he signed it. It's one of one. Look at the back. It's set up almost like a comic book.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, sweet.
What?
That's probably going to have to go in the studio here, boy. So I'll give away an autograph in his place because that is, he created it by hand. It looks like with a Jordan Love rookie card on the front. It's really, really cool. It's autographed by him. He created it custom, not autographed by Jordan Love. But again, Jazambi, thank you so much. Hopefully, I'm saying that name right. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and it's just, it's awesome, man. Everybody we've got that's joining in on the festivities here on this show that sucks so bad. So Turtles, Aaron Banks and Nate Hobbs, not too shabby. I've seen mostly positive reviews of these players. And again, we're going to dive into them 100% here in a second. I want to get caught up in the chat, and then we will do so. I'll throw this up just so you can kind of see early on what we're going to be talking about here. PJB, now here's a guy, right? Paul Grant.
Here's a guy.
Paul Grant said, Aaron Banks signing solid. Hope they do not trade Rasheed Walker with Jordan Morgan injury history. Would be screwed at left tackle. So he's already thinking maybe a step or two ahead. Like, hey, what if Jordan Morgan is projected as a future left tackle? You don't give Rasheed Walker a huge contract. This guy plugs and plays at guard. Obviously, being Aaron Banks, that might be the approach. Jesse in the chat, Hobbs, the other signing, which is obviously a cornerback out of Vegas. We'll hit that in a second. 9.62 RAS. Could he play outside? He's very versatile, it looks like. Many people immediately said it's only a slot. He's only a slot. It looks like he's got some outside snaps as well. King Tron, wow, what a day. Excited about Hobbs and Banks. Banks was a second-round pick from Notre Dame. He played 775 offensive snaps last year, committed 5 offensive penalties, allowed 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. And again, I immediately tweeted this out and said PFF grades, Ari Mirov had tweeted out the Packers are making a splash signing a former 49ers guard Aaron Banks to a 4-year, $77 million contract. Obviously, he is, like Tron said, he's a former second-round pick out of Notre Dame. PFF grades starting in 22. I think in 2021, he had very minimal snaps, but a 62, 54, 65. You see those and you go, well, he sucks, right? The fact that he only gave up 1 sack, that's important. We know Goody is always going to lean toward pass blocking over run blocking. That's just the way it rolls. What's your guys' initial thoughts on the signing here with Aaron Banks? And then I will move on to the PFF information that we've got, not just the grades, but like I said, the sacks, the hurries, all that good stuff. Jacob, why don't you go first, man? How you feel about Aaron Banks here?
I like it in theory. I think that we may have overpaid for good as of what he's done in the past, but I don't believe that Goody and the Packers would bring this dude in if they didn't see a great potential in his future. And we've talked about how PFF is not the end all be all, and it's tough to really just project if they're a good player or not based on a PFF grade. But I will say this, he was part of one of the best offensive lines for that last 3-4 year stint here. And if he was a starter, like Tim said, I think he played over 1,000 snaps in certain years. And just last year, I think it was close to 800. I want to say that he was pretty durable as well, which is something I know that they definitely want to like. And I think the more interesting dynamic is, what does this do for the rest of the offensive line? Does this mean that they are willing to actually plug in Jenkins there at the center position, let this guy take over at left guard? Because if I'm not mistaken, that's where he has played exclusively. Get Morgan over at right guard and just let our tackles do their thing. And then we have some decent depth if you want to have Ryan as a floater kind of guy. But I don't mind the signing. That $77 million, you guys know me, man. I'm cheap as can be. When I saw 44, and I'm sure you'll maybe break down once we get the specifics of that contract. I would have to guess that it's not going to be as front loaded as other prospects, that they're going to give themselves a very wide open door to walk out of if he doesn't perform.
Yeah, two-year experiment, I think, for sure. Once we get the specifics, but I agree with what you're saying. It seems a little bit high. especially when you see the way the market tilted for some of the other players at positions of need that we talked about. But I think what it shows is Goody's commitment to not getting our ass kicked on the O-line anymore. We saw what happened when Big E went down last year, and the wheels fell off of that O-line immediately. So I think adding, interior depth is a good sign. We didn't make a move at center in free agency, so that's a position we may think about addressing in the draft, maybe not. To me, I think it's a win because it gives us the flexibility that we need on that O-line, and we have depth. We don't even know if Jordan Morgan's a guard in the NFL yet. We have not seen enough to believe that, we'll just make him, the starting right guard. I think right now it's probably Sean Ryan's job to lose at this point, if in fact Elton moves over to center. And then depending on what they're going to do with Rasheed Walker, I mean, for all we know, they could stick Jordan Morgan back at tackle where he's played the bulk of his college snaps. So I think it's a good move. It shows a commitment to getting better at, as Emilio would say, building the wall in front of Jordan, and probably makes a guy like me happy because it looks like we might go D-line in the first round in the draft now. So kind of excited. I don't know. What do you think, Clay?
There you go. I was just trying to comb through Twitter and see if we could get some more details on the contract structure. The only thing I'm seeing is 4 years, $77 million. This is from Spot Track on Twitter 4 hours ago. But only his signing bonus will be guaranteed at signing the Green Bay way. So you guys know how they pay that cash up front. That way they can get out of the contract if they need to later and obviously spread that cap around. It just gives you a little more flexibility in that regard. So I'm eager to see what the guaranteed money was based off what other people were saying. And again, I'm just kind of going off hearsay. I was at the hospital most of the day. So I was trying to keep up as much as I could. When X went down, it was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to watch the old boob tube here. We're going old school. So, yeah, and here we go, Eric Sutherland. Yes, Coach, this deal for Banks is a great deal for the Packers. It's all based on a 1 year prove it. It's not if it's prove it, it's a great deal there. So again, hopefully the contract information will drop on Spot Track's website here soon, and we'll kind of go through and hit that. Ron Samble in the chat. Brian Baldinger says he's a big time guard. Can't wait to see some Baldy breakdown on this guy and see exactly what he does well. It sounds like he's more of a pass blocker, I'm assuming, than a run blocker. So Turtles, Elton Jenkins, the center. I've seen a lot of conversation about this online, and I don't know, man. I don't find myself getting aggravated when people throw out different scenarios. I like to kind of try to think outside of the box. Like we get so caught up in our own head, and I don't ever want to come across like I'm a know-it-all or anything like that. I apologize if sometimes the show comes across like that. I know we all get passionate on our opinions. I always try to preface it or at least wrap up the show with, hey, look, I'm just an idiot. I'm just an idiot Packer fan that's trying to figure this thing out too. But I see multiple different, hey, what if Sean Ryan plays center? What if they kick Zach Tom over? I personally, based off what I know, what I've seen, what I would like to see happen is left tackle Rasheed Walker, left guard, obviously Aaron Banks, right? Elton Jenkins center, Jordan Morgan right guard, and then Zach Tom right tackle, with Sean Ryan being the backup. Now, if Sean Ryan beats out Jordan Morgan for that right guard spot, then Jordan Morgan becomes that backup interior offensive lineman, unless, of course, the center goes down. You got to do a little more shuffling. Me personally, what did we say all offseason? When people talk about, we need to trade for DK Metcalf, we need to go get this corner, we need to go do this, we need to go do that, I immediately go run it through the filter of, would that help us beat the Eagles? This helps us beat the Eagles. And I'm taking that off of the information of forget PFF, forget what everybody thinks they know. If we're just trusting in Brian Gutekunst, the general manager of the Green Bay Packers, to identify a good offensive lineman, I'm sorry. I'm going to side with Goody knowing what he's talking about as opposed to PFF because, I don't know. He found Rasheed Walker in the 7th round. I don't know. He drafted Elton Jenkins, who was a center, right, in college, kicked him over to left guard, and the dude ended up earning that second contract and being a fairly dominant player before the injury, and hopefully he gets fully back to where he needs to be. He found Zach Tom in the 4th round. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
I'm going to trust his opinion as opposed to just PFF grades, because the reality is all season long we watched our running game take off. And every single week we've seen their run blocking grade be absolute dog crap on PFF. And that makes no sense to me whatsoever. And it's just a running back. The same thing happened with Aaron Jones, right? It was just always a low run blocking grade, but somehow the running backs were averaging over, 4.5, 5.5 yards a carry over the last few years. So that's kind of my take on it. Again, it's PFF grades 56, 59, 52, 65 here, according to the season grade. So I guess I did have that wrong. So unless they've got different grades, it kind of looks like that there too. It's amazing how things change on their side. TC fan with the super chat. Thank you so much. But he says the Packers cannot pay Jenkins $17 million a year to play center. The Eagles didn't pay Kelsey that much money. I'm not comparing across team. I want the best five out there. That's me. And I do know this. When anytime someone starts a conversation with you can't pay this player this much money, I laugh. Because how much cap space do we got? How much cap space could we create? Right? Like the whole cap conversation is frustrating because you've got a portion of the fan base that thinks, well, that's just too much money to pay the center. It's funny you compare that to Kelsey's contract, TC fan. Why have the Eagles had so much success? Because they've had dominant center play for a long time. Why did the Chiefs have success for a couple of years? Everybody says Pat Mahomes. I pointed out time and time again, we're just not going to mention Creed Humphrey being arguably the best center in the game. I'm just saying. I want the best center on our team. To me, it's left tackle and center. Those are the two most important spots on that offensive line. Period, case closed. Now, if it's that important, you move Zach Tom to center. I don't think you need to do that because they knew E could probably play center. Here's the other thing. It could be Jacob Monk, right? We've talked about that. This dude may come out of the ashes and Jordan Morgan might not even see the field, like Tim was saying. We're not 100% convinced that he's a great guard either, right?
Well, one thing this signing is going to do is it's going to give us another one of our items from our wish list, which is competition on the O-line. You talked about it specifically at the center position. It'd be nice to get some competition here. I think, this breeds versatility and it breeds an exciting time at training camp to find out where these guys are ultimately going to end up as we go into preseason and ultimately kick off the, week one festivities next year. So I think it's good. I think we have a little more competition. We've got a good balance of veteran leadership and young talent on that O-line and in that room. And I think it's going to prove to be a net positive for us going forward.
Yeah. So again, my point there, TC fan, is center needs to be a top priority. If Elton is the best guy to play center, and this is the move to do it, I could give a rat's ass what they're paying him to pay. Let me put it this way. I would rather pay him more money to play center than left guard. I promise you that. Because I hands down believe center is more important than either of the guard positions. That's me personally. So Jacob, you got anything else to add to Aaron Banks? I'll continue to go through the information here. Do you got any thoughts off what we said? And TC fan, thank you so much for the super chat.
I think it's somebody that they see the potential has not been hit, that he has not hit that ceiling. And I think that with the group of guys that can surround him, on paper, that sounds awesome. If we could have Elton at center, Tom at right tackle, obviously have Rashid, and then we just figure out the guard positions. But I think that at this point that this move has given us a little more depth, rotational power at that interior offensive line position, which, like you talked about, we lost to the Eagles because we were kind of slapped around in the trenches. So like pretty much every other team that went up against them. So this is definitely growing on me. It's one that I was hesitant because I'm cheap, but I want to see how time will maybe prove Goody right, prove me wrong, hopefully. And again, I think the way that the contract is structured has a big deal in this conversation, which I don't think we know for sure yet.
Yeah. And guys, we use PFF as much as anyone. You see it on the screen right now, right? I think it's a great tool. But when the instant reaction to a signing was PFF grades are low, therefore this is a garbage move. Like I share the PFF grades immediately. That's the starting point for me. Now let's go dig into the tape. Let's see what Brian Baldinger says. Let's see who these guys that, Mike Wall, people that truly break down tape. Let's see what they think. That's kind of how I try to approach. I try to look at it from 3 or 4 different angles, look at the statistics, look at the grades, look at the tape, listen to the professionals, and come up with a a rational opinion as opposed to just all of a sudden our general manager, who's had the youngest team in the league in the playoffs 2 years in a row, is just garbage at what he does, right? Hardy the Prophet, been a member for 5 months. Appreciate you, buddy. He says, coming from a dude that grew up 30 minutes away from West Virginia University and dumped many accounts from the rooftops of the Mountaineers, I appreciated the West Virginia talk yesterday. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in, Hardy. I love hearing Pat McAfee talk about West Virginia and his times there, man. How they would be out there, bar hopping on a Saturday night. I'm trying to think of the town that West Virginia is in. West Virginia U is in. But anyway, he said they'd be out there in the street having a good time, and one of the honky tonks, they start all of a sudden you'd hear Copperhead Road would hit, and the whole town will go flooding in into that bar to just party to that song. So appreciate you being a member for so long there, pal. Let's see here. J. Cole, boy, have I been sick of the constant bitching and moaning. It got bad today. I ain't gonna lie. And guys, you just got to ignore it, man. Yep. Everybody's got the right to their opinion. Don't let them bring you down, man. You make an educated assumption, or not assumption, but an educated breakdown, a study of a specific signing or a play call or whatever. Don't let those people bring you down, man, for sure. Because we know, man, like all you got to do is go to their profile or go look at their last 10 tweets and go, am I really going to let this dude get me upset over his opinion? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, don't let them get you down, man. And that block button, whoo, it's man's best friend.
Oh, yeah. I clicked on follow a few times today, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, but we seen the same complaint. Paul Grant, Clayton, hope your mother-in-law is doing okay. Prayers. Thank you so much, Paul, and everybody who reached out, texts, emails, everything. Thank you all so much. Everything went good. It was supposed to be a triple bypass. Ended up just being a double bypass. Everything went smooth. Yeah, she lives with us. For those who don't know, her and her husband, she had a stroke. She was her husband's caretaker, which was obviously Mandy's dad. He passed away a few years ago, so they've been with us since 2021. Yeah, I went in and seen her in ICU earlier today, and she could barely talk, but I grabbed her hand and she looked up and smiled, and I said, "Those dishes are piling up." That's all I said. Dishes here at the house. So
don't make her laugh, Clayton. She's probably sore.
It was a laugh, a moan, and then Mandy had to straighten her CPAP up because it was all out of whack. So I was serious. I ain't gonna lie, man. They are piling up. So no, but thank you so much, Paul. We appreciate you. Everything went great. Coach Lynn, he's 335, not my mother-in-law, this lineman we signed, okay?
Hey, now.
He's 335. He's a people mover, and him and Ryan will be great in gap, power, and duo run game. Isn't it funny, Coach, how far we've come from zone run, right? Like, we still run zone, don't get me wrong, and duo is a form of zone, according to most. Just depends on who you talk to. But, man, oh, man, they're wanting some body movers, like you were saying, man, a people mover. It sounds like this might be what this guy is. I'm excited about. And you guys know I'm a Notre Dame fan. I got to be real with you. When I seen Aaron Banks, it didn't go, oh, that's an Irish. Didn't even think about it until I started pointing it out. So anyway, I like that Coach Lynn, being our resident coach here in the chat, always immediately shifts his focus to what's this going to mean schematically, right? What are we going to be doing on the field, as opposed to those PFF grades are bad. Jake Shavink, this move is a move to keep building out versatile run game. Here we go. They aren't pigeonholed into running either gap, power, or zone. They can do both with this 5, whatever 5 it may be. That's huge.
That's right.
So love it. Love the thought process there. And Brambo says Cooper Kupp, I think is what he meant, is getting cut. Say that 5 times fast. How would you guys feel about Cooper Kupp, man? If you could get him on a little bit of a bargain deal, put Jaden a little more out to the Z, throw Cooper in the slot. I don't think that'd be a bad move if you get him for the right price.
I'd love it. I would. That'd be one of the – I know he's past his prime, but I'd be totally down for it.
Hardy the Prophet with a super chat here. He said it's Morgantown. Thank you so much, Hardy. It was on the tip of my tongue. I couldn't remember it there, but thank you for the super chat, bud. Thank you for clearing that up too.
So are we still going to draft Wyatt Malum now that we picked up some O-line in free agency?
I'm going to tell you right now. If I'm at pick 23 and I'm running the show and the best player on the board is offensive lineman, hell yes. Because you're 1 or 2 injuries away from us doing the same thing last year, remember? And I think Ryan Schlip had just some awesome tweets today. He was kind of in the same vein, if I remember correctly. He's just kind of, just keep building that thing out, Like, it doesn't mean you got to reach for it. We're not saying that. We're not saying you better get another offensive lineman right now, but you add a little bit of depth behind this signing. This is kind of very, very high floor, right? Like your offensive line, I think, got better today. That's just me personally. And it does sound like someone reported that Josh Myers will not be returning to Green Bay, right? It sounded like that was pretty definitive. Yeah. I can't remember who did it, Jacob. Do you remember who tweeted it? But you read the same thing, right?
I did. I want to. It was somebody that when I read whoever it was cited to, I was like, oh, that's legit. I don't know if it was Pelissero or maybe Spoon or somebody, but it was someone that you knew was reputable.
Schneidman, somebody.
Maybe Schneidman,
yeah. King Tron with the super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. He says, in Goot we trust. PFF grades are not even that concerning. 2 young studs joined the pack today. Happy with the moves and prayers for the fan, bud. Go Pack Go. Thank you so much, Tron. Appreciate you, pal. So just a couple other things here on the site. Overall grade, 65.4. Pass blocking grade last year was a 60.5. Run blocking grade was a 68.9. He only had 5 penalties, it looks like, last year, and he only allowed 1 sack. So if you were to say, okay, the top priority is protecting the quarterback, right, and sacks allowed, he only allowed 1. That puts him 51st in the league, which would make him, mid-tier number 2 guard. That doesn't mean backup guard. That means a legit starting guard, right? I think this is one of those safe picks, and once we see the guaranteed and how that's structured, you could probably see that, hey, if we swing and miss on this in a couple of years, you just get out of it and scratch it up and move on, right? There was a lot of overpaying today, though, like Jacob was saying. Ryan said the same thing. He put it into perspective a couple of times with some tweets. It's like, yeah, everybody was overpaying today. And Goody was just sitting back going, nope, not going to do it. So let's see what else we got here. I was trying to look at some of the key statistics, like we said, 51st and just that 1 sack allowed. Hits allowed, he only allowed 4 hits, 25 pressures. That was 100th best, it looks like. I was just trying to glance at those. Nothing major there. And then, of course, we already hit on the career PFF grades. Last year, I will say this, starting in week 1 all the way through the season, he stayed pretty healthy, didn't he? It looks like. Through 7, 8. What did he miss? 9 was probably the bye, so he was healthy all year long. Heck yeah. PFF grades, here they were, and this is just pass blocking grades here. Okay, 57, 71, 76, 13, 75, 56, 74, 60, 70, 66, 45, 48, 55. So it looked like his ceiling pass blocking was right around a 76 grade. And, of course, the floor there was that 13 against New England. So what you got, Jacob? What are you giggling about over there?
No, I'm just that floor 13. That's a pretty good floor, but that looks like it's an outlier. Yeah.
No doubt. Already the prophet with a super chat. By the way, Tim, are you coming to Canton for the Hall of Fame, Tim? We need to answer. People, inquiring minds.
I'd like to say yes, but I don't know. It's kind of up in the air. I might have to pick and choose between going this year and going in a few years when they put Aaron in there. So we'll see. I should know in the next month or so if we're gonna make it down. I believe it's end of July. I think early August that the induction is gonna happen. So we're doing research. So no, I don't have an answer yet.
I've had people messaging me too that we are not live on Twitter. I don't know if that's cleaned up yet or not. It's not showing that we're live on Twitter. At least it's not showing the live viewers on Twitter. I did tweet that we're on YouTube. So hopefully people were able to find it for sure. I don't know with what happened with Twitter earlier today. And listen, this ain't a political statement. This is what they're saying happened today to X, that the IP addresses were traced to those who were responsible for kind of hacking in and taking down X, and they're Ukrainian IP addresses is what they're saying. So for what it's worth, some people go, hey, he's probably lying. He may be. I could care less, to be honest with you. That's what they're saying happened. So the reason we're not on X, if we're not right now, is it might have everything they had to start from scratch, strip it off of StreamYard, kind of safety precautionary thing, because it sounded like it got a little wonky today. So yeah, that's Elon trying to fix it right now. He's crawling around looking for the fix here. So
too old for this. Breaking some actually breaking news. It says Goot was like Michael Scott Paper Company in negotiations with Dunder Mifflin. All right,
there you go. Run blocking grades for our boy Aaron Banks: 66, 62, 63, 76, 79, 64, 78, 55, 57, 58, 62, 50 and 59. So the ceiling on run blocking last year, 79.2. The floor was 50.4. Okay, and his run blocking grade last year was the best of his career, 68.9. So that's probably what Goody's seen there as well. Kind of goes hand in hand with what Jake was saying, right? So Josh Martin with the super chat. Thank you, pal. He says, biggest issue on offense was pressure up the middle all year with Banks at left guard and Jenkins at center. Love should have time to step up into the pocket. That's a great point.
Really great point. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got, Elton Jenkins is one of the best pass blockers, right, in the NFL. I felt like at the guard position. Now he may have struggled with the run game at times, but see, here says there was a live. Maybe we can just go live. Let's just click go live and see what happens. I like just mashing buttons here mid show, and it says we're live on this now. So
Get ready to go.
So Josh, I think that's a great point, man, and I got to be honest with you. I haven't really looked at it from that point. Like, okay, the combination of Elton and obviously Aaron Banks now at left guard, and Jordan Morgan, it sounds like is going to be a good pass blocker. That's going to be kind of his forte, I believe, once he does completely solidify that starting spot there, whether it be right guard or left guard. That's the other thing too. They may kick this guy to right guard and put Jordan Morgan at left guard, where he's a little more comfortable, seeing that he played left tackle his entire career. I can't wait for camp, Tim. It's going to be a blast, man.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It'll be fun to see the defense putting these guys to the test too. I think there'll be some new pieces there too when it's all said and done after the draft. But I think I agree 100% here with what Josh is saying. You beef up that interior, we get better there, and that's going to give Jordan all he needs to continue to improve as a starter. And if you can protect him, give him time to step up and not have to throw off platform all the time and be able to get some throws out in rhythm, it's going to help him and this offense as a whole.
Definitely. And again, Josh, thank you for that super chat, buddy. Appreciate you. So the other signing today was obviously cornerback Nate Hobbs from Vegas, right? And Ari Mirov had this one. Ari is becoming one of my favorite follows, man. That dude is just on his game. Sources, the Packers are expected to sign former Raiders cornerback Nate Hobbs to a 4-year, $48 million contract. If you guys know the details of that, throw it in the chat for us. So 4 years, $48 million. He's a guy who's got some versatility. Now in 2021, his PFF grade as a rookie year was 79.1. As a rookie, that's almost unheard of, guys. That's like Edgerrin Cooper level stuff as a rookie, right? And then, of course, 2022 dropped back to a 60.9, then jumped back up to a 69, and now fell back to a 61.4. So that is, again, Nate Hobbs. I'll go to PFF. Jacob, what's your initial takeaway on Nate Hobbs, man? What did you find out today? What are you excited about? Maybe what you're not excited about?
Yeah, so the stuff I'm excited about, as you said, he came into the league just absolutely red hot on fire. And if anybody thinks, well, maybe it's a fluke, he didn't play that many snaps. No, 2021, he played the most snaps of his whole career thus far, 894, came out with a defensive grade of an 80.1 with a rush defense of 78.6, a tackle grade of 55, which for a corner, okay, cool. Pass rush grade of 76.7, a coverage grade of 78 flat. Now, since that time, we have seen a little bit of sporadic type stuff, but what's cool, I mean, the run defense grade has actually been very good up until this last year. He was still a 62.1, but again, as a corner, I'll take that. Years prior was a 78.8 and a 75.1, and then another 78. Tackle grade could be better. Pass rush grade for 2 years was quite impressive, and for 2 years, the coverage grade was quite impressive. So, you take a guy 6'1", 195, coming out of the Fighting Illini of Illinois. Draft year was 2021. He was drafted in the 5th round with the 168th selection. Now that's more of the positive, the good. What worries me a little bit, you look at the contract, 4 years, $48 million. I'm all right with that, roughly just over maybe 12, 13 a year if he actually is a starting, a guy that can start in this league and be good, and he's young. Cool. I got Hafley to coach him up and maybe be a little bit of a DB whisperer. The two things that I'm most worried about is that it looked like he predominantly played in the slot. And I did see some people say that he used to play outside in college and that he did it a year in Vegas and that he did pretty well. But more importantly than that, to me, the biggest red flag is that Hobbs has missed 16 games over the past 3 seasons, including 6 of the last 8 games of 2024 due to an ankle injury and an illness. He has never played a full season since he's gotten into league. So that's my biggest red flag that pops up for me.
And that probably explains why the contract is structured the way it is. If Uncle Eric Sutherland is correct here, $16 million guaranteed can get out in 2 years. So if you got a 4-year, $48 million deal and only $16 million guaranteed, that if they do it in a signing bonus form, which is the way they like to do business, then essentially what it's going to turn into is, like you said, after 2 years, it could end up being a, 2 year, $16 million deal type thing, right? So you can get out. Much like Josh Jacobs, although we know we don't want to get out of that now, right? So that might be kind of the thinking there, Jacob. Less guaranteed money if he does miss time because of injury. We don't want any player to miss any time. Don't get me wrong. You want your full strength of your roster, but at least you're getting recouped those funds if it's less of a bonus. You know what I'm saying? Less guarantee. Sounds kind of cold-hearted towards the player, but that's the business that they're in for sure. So yeah, the PFF grades on defense. 2021, his defensive grade was actually an 80.1, 60, 69, 61.4. When I put these out earlier, I swear I went through and checked, and they're different now on the site. I don't know what the heck's going on there. But Tim, what do you think, man, on the surface here with Nate Hobbs? And to Jacob's point, the games he played last year, he played weeks 1 through 9 and then missed time and played 15 and 17. So he essentially played 11 games, and it looks like, according to PFF, all were in the slot except for 1, 2, 3, 4 games. But the fact that he played 4 out of those games on the perimeter shows you he's got some versatility, right?
That's probably the thing that stands out the most to me, other than the fact that, it seems like he's been hurt almost as much as Ja has been, apparently. So hopefully the health is not a big deal. But I like it because it gives us a contingency plan behind Bullard in the slot. I don't think this means, we don't see Bullard playing slot anymore. I think it means we have the opportunity to throw a true slot corner in there if we need to, and as well as use him on the boundary with Keyshawn and Carrington Valentine. And of course, talking this way is assuming that Jair is no longer a Packer, which honestly, at this point in the game, there's still a 50-50 chance that he stays, I think. So this could provide great depth if, in fact, Ja's healthy and available, and does in fact play in Green Bay this year. So it doesn't seem like, it seems like a minimal to low risk, high reward scenario. I think this could pay off really well for us. And if it doesn't work out, it's not gonna ruin us.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. I was just looking at some of the other stats here on the next page, and I won't throw it up here, but pass breakups, looks like he was 81st in the league, receptions allowed 77th. They see something in him for sure that's not quite showing up to me. He did have a pick last year, right? 1 interception. Now, think about this. When you talk about versatility, last year it was Javon Bullard in the slot, right? And if a safety goes down, Bullard would have to hop back to safety, right? And Keyshawn would have to come off the boundary and play the slot. And then you'd have to bring in your obviously third string outside backer or outside corner. This year, it's going to look much, much different, right? Like, let's say we know based off the contract, Hobbs is going to start. I think we all agree there, right? So if Keyshawn and him are battling, or Keyshawn, him, and Carrington Valentine are battling for those 2 outside spots, and let's say he wins an outside spot, you're probably going to see multiple camp battles, Tim. When you're there this summer, you're probably going to see Nate Hobbs, Keyshawn Nixon, and Javon Bullard battling for the slot. You're going to see Keyshawn Nixon, Nate Hobbs, Carrington Valentine, and, insert anyone else. Could be Jair. We still don't know yet, right? If he's on the roster, he's going to be starting. But I think they love the idea of they've got a lot of versatility now, Plus you bring back Zane Anderson. Here's my point. Let's say that Nate Hobbs wins the slot corner job, right? And Javon Bullard ends up being on the bench, and it's Evan Williams, right? It's Evan Williams, and it's Xavier McKinney at the safety position. If one of those 2 safeties go down, guess what you get to do? You get to either bring in Bullard, or you can bring in Zane Anderson, and your slot doesn't have to move. Well, if the slot goes down, guess what you can do? You can put Bullard in the slot, and no one else has to move because he's the backup, right? It's exactly what you talked about all offseason, Tim, when we would do the mock drafts. You go, look at the safeties. Let's see if anybody's got any slot experience. Yep. That's where it's at, They're
I feel a hell of a lot better going into this draft now, knowing that we just nabbed a guy in free agency that is capable in the slot. I think that's a huge huge plus side for us going into the draft.
Yeah, and for the people that think we overpaid, listen, you've got every right to believe that. It does look like a lot of money on the surface, but when you look at the guaranteed aspect, do you want to carry $40 million in cap space into the offseason? You know what I'm saying? Or into the next season? Why not go ahead and fill that void with a little bit of depth? And if it doesn't work out in a year and a half, 2 years, just cut bait and you're clean slate, ready to roll again. You know,
Yep.
You guys know the two free agents I was hoping for the most was Chris Godwin, wide receiver from Tampa, and Khalil Mack. Right. Well, Chris Godwin was projected $20 million. I think he got 22 per, if I remember correctly. Right. So a little bit more than his value. Khalil Mack was showing like 21, 22, and he ended up getting 18 million.
18, yep.
I'm not going to BS y'all. I would love to have had those two guys at those numbers on the Packers roster. I would have been over the moon. But like we said last night, this free agency did not feel like last year's free agency where we're going, please, God, go get Xavier McKinney.
Yeah.
Go get, you know what I mean? Like, go get somebody like that. You know, would have been happy with them, but I'm not sitting here going, man, let's just go overpay for those two. We got to have them.
Yeah. The thing I heard with Godwin, correct me if I'm wrong, was that he actually had better offers and he took Tampa's offer wanting to stay in Tampa. It's something about that organization. They hang on to their free agents for the most part. They do not let guys that they want out of town very easily. So I don't know how those negotiations went or how the conversations were, but I don't think Godwin was going anywhere once the writing was on the wall. Apparently there were other offers out there that were higher than what Tampa paid him.
Yeah, sure seemed like it. Jake, you got anything to add to the conversation right now, man? Anything that we've covered so far?
No, not necessarily. Just real quick aside, what do you guys think about our big boy, Mr. TJ Slayton, getting shipped off to the Jaguars for 2 years worth $15 million?
Hey, I was pretty vocal about TJ Slayton. He didn't have near as many opportunities as he should have had. His pressure rate was 2% higher than Kenny's this year. I thought he was effective in the pass rush. That's just me personally. He had a little over an 8% pass rush rate. He had the highest run stop percentage rate of any defensive tackle on our team as well. I thought he was somewhat underrated. I'm not surprised he got that much money personally.
I thought he went to the Bengals. He went to Jacksonville? I thought TJ went to Cincinnati.
I don't know where he went. That's the first I'm hearing of it here, to be honest with you. So
I'm reading that he went to the Jaguars, but I wouldn't be surprised. I saw there was definitely a few mistakes like that. Milton Williams, they announced that he went to some team, and then it came back like 30 minutes later. Nope. Actually, he didn't sign that. Now he's going to New England or something like that. They're saying Bengals in the chat.
Yeah, it's the Bengals.
Yeah. The only reason I would say, like, even though I like TJ Slayton and what he showed last year, though, Jacob, to answer your question, even though I liked what he did, if you sign him to that $7.5 million per, then you don't have any more room on the roster to go draft a 3 tech in the draft. And the closer
I would pay him $15 million. I'm happy he made that money. I just am kind of surprised.
The closer we get to the draft, it's feeling more and more like, we're probably going to swing on a 3 tech if the board falls just right there in the first round. That's what it feels like. Yeah, I'm happy about it too, because that's, you try to shore up the interior offensive line a little bit, right? With this veteran move, you go and add a couple more offensive linemen in the draft to help shore it up. And who knows if you hit on another Zach Tom, absolutely awesome, or another Sheed Walker, somebody like that. And then of course you add that 3 tech early to get some more push on the middle of the pocket on defense. I think everything sets up pretty nicely there, man, for sure. So I'm not surprised at that number, Jacob, but I wouldn't have minded to have TJ Slayton back $5 million. I'd probably went $5 million. So 7.5. I could see me going to. There's a walking away point, right, on every player for sure. Chris C, this is awesome here, man. I get excited over this stuff. I know some people don't. He says Love versus Aaron Rodgers season opener in Ireland. What if Aaron does sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Packers end up playing the Steelers in Ireland? Could you imagine international game in front of the Irish crowd, that rowdy Irish crowd, and it's Jordan Love against his mentor Aaron Rodgers? I think that's just shoot, crack me open a 6-pack of Daddy sodas and sit back and enjoy the show. That would be an absolute blast. Y'all think he's going to end up in Pittsburgh? Is that what it's sounding like? Or do you think there's someone else that's kind of in the hunt there?
I mean, I think the consensus is
It's got to be.
New York, Pittsburgh, or unfortunately Minnesota, right? Those seem to be the best 3 landing spots. Or like I have said from the beginning, the golf course is another option.
It definitely is.
So, Aaron, you're never going to know. We're not going to know what the heck's going on in his mind. But you got to think with his relationship off the field that he's had over the years with Mike Tomlin, a lot of respect for him. I would think that, there was a reason why Coach Tomlin went with Russell Wilson last year, most of the season, during that little experimental phase with Justin Fields. I think he likes the veteran quarterback idea. And I could see that probably being the best fit for Aaron. Going somewhere with some, he's got a couple of receiving targets there, and a chance to at least be a playoff team probably. I would think Aaron would probably want to play there before, any of the other teams on the list there.
I found it kind of interesting, though. I mean, basically, like Tim said, I don't see any other spots where Rodgers is going to go other than New York, Minnesota, or Pittsburgh. And I don't know about you guys, but I've heard nothing but constant rumors about how terrible the front office situation and the relationship in New York is right now, where players are actively like Amani Toomer, I believe it was, going out and saying, like, do not sign with this team. Like, they're a cancer organization. And apparently it's worked, where multiple players have refused to even interview or talk with the team and that don't like the coach and the GM and the front office. So I don't see Rodgers wanting to sign up for that. And in the same vein, if he goes down to Pittsburgh, yeah, he's got a great relationship with Tomlin. And I think if that defense is, like it usually is, that would definitely help Rodgers. But what a dynamic that he walks into now with 2 receivers, both of them same type of mentality, kind of where they're a little more selfish, gotten into trouble. Both of them are the largest deep threats in the league, I believe, statistically last year, when they had a quarterback, Russell Wilson, who was the moon baller champion last year. He was just chucking it up. And in addition to that, they are the 2 wide receivers that are far and away have the most offensive penalties against any wide receiver in the league. I believe it's Pickens first, has double the amount of the second person, who's DK. So it's like, that's just a weird dynamic to me,
Yeah, Jake Shabink said, let's go save Malik Neighbors for New York. Or from New York, I'm sorry. So, love it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour 2. Appreciate y'all.